Imagine a scenario so daring, so fraught with peril, it sounds like something out of a blockbuster movie, an elite special forces mission deep inside Iran to seize its enriched uranium. Recent comments from both Trump and Netanyahu suggest this extraordinary, high-risk operation might be closer to reality than we think. According to multiple sources at Axios, Bloomberg, and others, the Israeli government has already directly urged Trump to order a special forces mission to secure Iran's nuclear material. We're talking about Delta Force, SEAL Team 6, Chinook helicopters flying deep into Iranian territory, scientists from the Department of Energy operating alongside Army Rangers, and fighter jets from aircraft carriers clearing the airspace. This would be a raid on a buried underground facility that Iran has spent months trying to seal shut. It would undoubtedly be one of the most complex operations the U.S. military has ever attempted, with risks almost impossible to fully articulate. Trump is reportedly hesitant, fully aware of the catastrophic implications of failure. So, let's break down this potential mission phase by phase: the planes, the helicopters, the forces on the ground, and what they would actually need to accomplish once inside, because the intricate details are truly remarkable. To be clear, there is no confirmed operational plan for such an undertaking. What we are piecing together here is based on what military analysts, former commanders, and reports from outlets like the War Zone have outlined as the most probable framework for an operation of this magnitude. The fundamental challenge is that you simply cannot fly helicopters deep into Iran without extensive preliminary work. Iran still possesses air defense systems. While its military capabilities have been degraded by weeks of Israeli and American strikes, significant threats persist. To dispatch helicopters into that environment unprepared would be to send personnel to their certain demise. Therefore, Phases 1 and 2 are entirely dedicated to intelligence and suppression. Phase 1 focuses on meticulously locking down the intelligence picture. The critical questions are, where precisely is the uranium located right now? Is it still at Isfahan? Has any of it been relocated? This last point represents one of the most troubling open questions. While U.S. officials have publicly expressed confidence in knowing the material's location, privately, Bloomberg reports, there is less certainty. Phase 2 involves suppression. Before even one helicopter can lift off, the airspace must be cleared. This necessitates a substantial air campaign, specifically targeting the corridor leading into Isfahan. This would involve fighter jets launching from multiple directions, originating from aircraft carriers positioned in the region and from air bases in allied countries across the Middle East. The objective is to forge a temporary, safe corridor in the sky, allowing helicopters to traverse without encountering hostile engagement. This concept is not mere science fiction. The United States executed a similar, albeit larger scale, operation when it captured Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro in January of this year. That mission involved hundreds of aircraft and offshore vessels, all meticulously coordinated to safeguard a comparatively small ground strike force. This phase of the operation begins to resemble some of the most iconic special operations missions in history. Once the air corridor is firmly established and suppression efforts are fully underway, the helicopters would begin their insertion. We are not talking about just one or two aircraft. Based on analyst projections and the scale of the Venezuela operation, this would be a substantial aerial package. Heavy-lift Chinook helicopters would transport the primary assault force and their extensive equipment. Stealth Black Hawk helicopters might also be integrated for the most sensitive components of the mission, accompanied by attack helicopters providing crucial close air support. The ground force itself would likely be composed of Tier 1 Special Operations units, specifically Delta Force from the Army and SEAL Team 6 from the Navy. These are globally recognized as the most highly trained special operators, having dedicated decades to training for counterweapons of mass destruction scenarios, encompassing nuclear, chemical, biological, and radiological threats. Alongside these elite Tier 1 operators, conventional supporting forces would be essential. Army Rangers could establish a vital security perimeter, while specialized units from the Army's chemical and nuclear teams would operate in full protective gear, equipped to detect and safely handle radioactive material. Crucially, scientists, likely personnel from the Department of Energy's nuclear emergency teams, and potentially even representatives from international bodies, would be integral, capable of assessing and handling the uranium once it is located. Upon landing, the operators would hit the ground, immediately confronting what might be the single greatest tactical hurdle of the entire mission. The entrances to the underground facility at Isfahan have been intentionally sealed. In the weeks leading up to the conflict, Iran buried these tunnel entrances with soil. This means the most highly trained soldiers would find themselves on hostile ground, under the cover of night, with their objective buried beneath tons of earth and debris. This is where the complexity truly escalates. Depending on the depth and extent of the seal, heavy equipment, excavators or mechanical diggers, might need to be brought in or somehow pre-positioned just to gain access to the tunnels. Analysts warn that this process alone could consume hours, and every hour spent on the ground grants Iranian security forces more time to react. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, their elite military branch, maintains facilities and personnel stationed near these nuclear sites and possesses detailed contingency plans for precisely this type of incursion. They will respond. While American air power can certainly deter and suppress reinforcements, interdicting vehicles moving towards the site, it cannot halt every threat. Iran still possesses artillery, meaning at some point, the operators on the ground will inevitably come under fire. Imagine holding that perimeter in the darkness of central Iran, acutely aware that each passing minute amplifies the danger. Once the tunnel entrance is breached and access gained, the operators and scientists would embark on the mission's most technically sensitive phase. The immediate question upon entry: where exactly is the uranium within the facility? Isfahan is not a small site, it is a sprawling complex with multiple areas and storage locations. The meticulous intelligence preparation from Phase 1 directly informs this search, yet intelligence is rarely perfect, and underground facilities often appear different in reality than on a map. Once the material is located, the scientists and nuclear specialists would commence their work. This leads to the critical decision point, one that genuinely divides military planners: do you extract the uranium from Iran, or do you attempt to neutralize it on site? Should they reach this stage, the most probable outcome is extraction, loading the material and bringing it out. This is the moment where absolute precision is paramount. The nuclear material would be secured and loaded, operators would begin collapsing their positions inside the facility, and the perimeter force would commence pulling back towards the waiting helicopters. The ultimate challenge then becomes getting everyone and everything safely back into the air and out of Iranian territory. Historically, this exfiltration phase is the most perilous part of any raid. The enemy is fully aware of their presence, has had time to react, and any initial suppression achieved would have been degrading throughout the mission's duration. Iranian forces, initially held back by airstrikes, would have been repositioning. The window of opportunity would be rapidly closing. The Chinooks, being the heaviest and slowest, carrying the uranium and the majority of the force, would lift off first. Attack helicopters would remain close, providing vital cover. Then comes the very real, complex question: where do you actually take over 907 kilograms of Iranian-enriched uranium once it's secured? This is far from a trivial logistical or diplomatic challenge. It would presumably be transported to a U.S. military facility, potentially a ship offshore or an Allied base, where it could be safely secured and eventually moved under strictly controlled conditions. The capability to attempt such an operation exists. The profound question, however, is whether Trump will ultimately decide if the potential gain justifies the immense risks of an operation going awry deep inside Iran, with nuclear material at stake. That monumental decision currently rests on his desk. Let us know in the comments below, do you believe they will actually go through with it? And to stay updated on this unfolding situation, ensure you are subscribed.